All right, so this is a suggestion via Discord. The name of the video is the Supreme Court to rule on laws impacting the homeless. Let's go ahead and check it out.
Any day now, the Supreme Court is expected to rule on a case that could have far-reaching implications for the unhoused across America. John Blackstone reports on what's at stake.
I guess that's one way to put it, I guess.
With foothills rising above, Boise, Idaho is a place of beauty. But it's the city's less scenic quarters, dead ends and back alleys, that were Robert Martin's home on and off for 15 years.
I'm just sitting here about like so and had a blanket wrapped up, had it laying down underneath me as a little bit of cushioning between me and the ground and just trying to catch a few winks.
On nights when Boise's homeless shelters were full, Martin got sleep wherever he could.
There were times I've slept in garage stairwells on cement, slept in rock, up under overpasses on the rocks and dirt.
But in Boise, sleeping or camping on public property was against the law. Martin was one of many ticketed and fined for sleeping in public.
And Robert's case.
Bro, imagine being ticketed and fined for not having enough money to live in a house. That's wild. Just thinking about that for a second here. Let's continue.
He was one of many ticketed and fined for sleeping in public.
And
how are they
Robert's
going to pay
case
that?
I thought it was a vivid portrayal of the situation that homeless people find themselves in.
Howard Beladoff of Idaho Legal Aid Services saw a constitutional issue in Boise's camping ordinance and made a federal case out of it.
Here's a guy, he has no place to sleep. He's been walking around all night because he's been warned you can't, quote unquote, camp, which just means you can't have a blanket around you.
In 2009, in federal court, Beladoff filed a lawsuit that came to be known as Martin versus Boise, arguing that the city of Boise had violated the Eighth Amendment of the Constitution's ban on cruel and unusual punishment by leaving those without homes nowhere to legally sleep.
Hey, listen, that feels super valid. I would call that cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, you know that this guy is homeless, right? Like, you know that he's homeless. So how is he supposed to pay whatever fine you give him? You're going to fine him because he needed to rest? Oh, man, bro, that's super tricky.
It's cruel and unusual in the true sense of the word, because every single one of us, rich, poor, old, young, male, female, they need to sleep.
9 years later, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, based in San Francisco, agreed with Beladoff, writing it considered whether the Eighth Amendment's prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment bars a city from prosecuting people criminally for sleeping outside on public property, concluding it does.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And the fact that the courts have crippled our ability to do our jobs, to help get people into shelter, is criminal.
San Francisco's Mayor London Breed blames Martin versus Boise.
Wait, sidewalk? Hold on.
Criminal.
Sidewalks are not homes. Streets are not homes. I'm sure everyone can pretty much attest to the fact that streets are not homes, right? But I think the big dilemma here is, like, do we want a gigantic amount of people sleeping on the streets? No. In a perfect world, people would not be sleeping on the streets, right? But unfortunately, the overwhelming majority of Americans are, one or two paychecks away from that exact situation? And then to criminalize it, oh, that's tricky, bro. Right? Then to find someone because they now have lost every single thing that they had. I don't know, guys. That feels weird. But yeah, I think everyone knows that streets are not homes, bro.
Francisco's Mayor London Breed
I'm trying to read some of these signs here. Multiple fires.
Blames Martin.
Sidewalks are not homes. We're aware. I think everyone knows that. Right? Now, the thing about it is there should be a place, if anything. The homeless shelters should obviously not be full to the brim. I do think that if the homeless shelters are completely full, hopefully these are like, American residents and citizens that are in these places. But knowing a lot of these states nowadays, it's most likely migrants. And I definitely hope that people are not forced to sleep outside and then ticketed. It's starting to get a little tricky, guys. Right? But in all actuality, we all know that the sidewalks are not homes, guys. And in a perfect world, that really wouldn't be the case in the first place, right? But either way.
Versus Boise for worsening the city's crisis. A court order bars San Francisco from clearing sidewalk encampments unless it can guarantee a place to sleep for everyone it moves. A challenge in a city with more than 8,000 homeless, but fewer than 4,000 shelter beds.
I wouldn't even walk down that street.
Nationally, there is a lack of shelter beds. By one estimate, about 188,000 more people need shelter than there are beds available. But the Martin versus Boise decision applies only to the 9 western states under Ninth Circuit jurisdiction. In the rest of the country, 14 states have laws making it a crime to camp in public places, and 27 states have laws against vagrancy and loitering that can be used to move along those sleeping in public. Those kind of laws have effectively been outlawed in Ninth Circuit states.
What the Ninth Circuit has said is that a person can't be punished for being homeless if there aren't adequate shelter beds or places for them to go.
Erwin Chemerinsky is a leading constitutional scholar and dean of the law school at UC Berkeley. The Eighth Amendment prohibition on cruel and unusual punishment, we think of it as being applied to death penalty cases, for example. How can it be applied to homelessness?
In 1962, the United States Supreme Court said it's cruel and unusual punishment to punish somebody for a status. In that case, they said you can't punish somebody for being a drug addict. You can punish them for taking drugs, for possessing drugs, but not for the status of being addicted. Likewise, the Federal Court of Appeals here has said you can't punish somebody for the status of being unhoused.
Needing more affordable housing.
I've never heard this term unhoused.
Since the unhoused can't be denied a place to sleep, Mayor Kate Collin in San Rafael, California, is almost powerless to move the person living in a tent beside City Hall.
That's crazy.
Shelters here are usually full,
wild.
which means this suburban city of 60,000 can legally do little about encampments on its streets.
Every time we pass an...
Okay, listen, the people that were holding the signs up, I'm guessing this is where they live, right? Like if this is okay, I'd probably hold the signs up too. This is a bit much, bro. Like you built a 1-bedroom house on the side of the road, bro. All right, it's a little excessive. Okay, when I was saying earlier, I kind of want to look back at it because I think that it was a little bit misguided here, because in my mind I couldn't fathom that this was like the reality of the people that were talking. Oh God, guys. Oh no! All right, here goes a moral issue here. Yes, there needs to be something. All right. Maybe we just need to build, like, because of the times we're living in, with the economy the way it is, inflation the way it is, we need to figure out a way to obviously get the people off of the street. And I think that's just a reality, because I'm talking about now, like, you can call it whatever you want to call it, just make it happen, just so we can, feel safe walking up and down the streets, guys. All right, because I personally would not feel comfortable allowing my kids to walk to the store or walk honestly anywhere down this street here. I'm just going to be honest here. It would not happen at all. Zero chance.
Ordinance, we were sued either immediately or within the time frame that could happen.
It must be frustrating to try to say to residents here, sorry, we can't move the people who are camped at the end of your street because the court has told us we can't.
Bro, think of property values. Imagine someone trying to sell a house on the street where when they come to visit your house to view it, they instantly see like these gigantic okay, yeah, bro, that's crazy. I would not buy your house. I wouldn't. I'm sorry. I would look somewhere else.
It is frustrating. People don't want to hear that San Rafael doesn't have the independent ability to work with our unhoused community. So when we say it's because of the federal law, it takes...
Is this like a new phrase?
...people a moment to say, really?
While many cities complain about Martin versus Boise, Grants Pass, Oregon is doing something. The city appealed to the Supreme Court. When the case was argued in April, advocates for the unhoused demonstrated outside the court, while inside, attorney Theone Evangelos, representing Grants Pass, urged the justices to overturn Martin versus Boise.
Okay.
It would be a disaster if Martin were to remain on the books in any form.
How did Grants Pass, Oregon, population about 40,000 becomes central to this case before the Supreme Court.
It was sued by a group of plaintiffs who claimed that it would be cruel and unusual punishment for grants passed to enforce its local camping ordinances.
The Supreme Court decision expected this month could impact homeless policy across the country.
All of us living here within the Ninth Circuit have seen the effects firsthand of these decisions. And that's why if the Supreme Court were to agree with the Ninth Circuit, those conditions would spread to the rest of the country, and that would be the opposite of solving this problem.
On the other hand, I think there's such a compelling argument on behalf of what the Ninth Circuit said that you can't make something a crime if there's no alternative.
What's on the line?
And that's what I'm kind of having an issue with here. Trying to look at both sides of the situation here, and how can there literally is no other alternative for these individuals, guys. They have no other choice. That's the reality. But at the same time, I don't want to walk down that street, and if I had a business on that street, I'd close it. So it's like, right? I don't want to own property on that street. I don't, because I don't want to walk down the street. Why would I? Right? So in return, there's no other choice at all for some of these people here. There's no choice. The reality is they have to have that encampment in order for them to be able to sleep and eat and rest and feel somewhat safe, right? While at the same time, if I owned a business, I would close the business, right? If I had property on the street, I would move. I wouldn't live there. I wouldn't want my kids growing up around, like walking up and down the street and seeing that, right? So there are two issues here, and they really both can't be solved. Like the only way to do it is to do something so inhumane that it becomes troubling and morally it'll feel wrong. Ethically, it feels wrong, right? Do you arrest everyone that's homeless? Why? Why are they going to jail? Because they're poor? That's not a reason. You see? In order to keep the businesses, you have to get rid of the visible homelessness. But you can't because they have no other choice. I don't like this conversation. It doesn't seem like there's a logical answer that you can actually give without just absolutely sounding like a monster. Right? The only option here is to let cities fall or let neighborhoods fall, property values shrink to the point where these properties become abandoned. No taxes are paid on these properties any longer, right? Less tax dollars in the local area. Schools stop getting paid. How do we do this here, right? Because again, they have no choice.
In the Supreme Court in this.
For homeless people, the question is, are they going to face criminal punishment because they don't have else to live? For cities, the question is, what can cities do lawfully to deal with their unhoused population? And for the Constitution, the question is, what's this going to mean for the Eighth Amendment?
Right. Robert Martin no longer lives on the streets, but his thoughts remain with those who still search for places to sleep.
Being homeless should never equate to an unlawful act. Being homeless is an unforeseen and an unfortunate circumstance.
Generally.
For Howard Beladoff, the attorney who started it all,
that's valid.
The case is not only about the rights of the homeless, it's also about their humanity.
Right.
They feel so powerless because nobody listens and nobody cares. For the first time, they feel like they're a person. And they're recognized.
Okay. All right. Listen. And that's it. And that's the issue. Like I always, whenever you guys send me these videos and you guys want my opinion on them, I try to always, under all circumstances, look at how things are, right, being approached from kind of all sides, because I think the most important thing to do is to understand the situation kind of in its completion. I do think that constitutionally it's a problem. Right, the fact that he brought up the Eighth Amendment, yeah, that's it. Problem solved. And that just basically means that all the other states on the East Coast are kind of acting completely against the Eighth Amendment on purpose, right? You cannot be a absolutist for the most part, guys, right? In terms of Constitution, and disregard the fact that the Eighth Amendment exists. Cruel or unusual punishment is what would be basically handed down to people for the only reason of being poor and like living in poverty, like not being able to afford a place to live in this current crazy inflationary event that we're currently in. Oh, that's bad, bro. That's bad. It's bad. It's terrible. And I don't know what to do with it. So I gave you my opinion. I'm going to go ahead and go now because I have no solution. I can't give any advice. This is just a moral situation that I am not capable of even speaking on, guys. Right? Would I want to live or own a business there in a place like that that's allowing this type of thing to happen? No. But at the same time, should the people that are there living in the encampments go to jail because they are impoverished? No. So yeah, I don't know what to do. All right, listen, you guys all have an absolutely amazing day. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, all right? Guys, before we go, are you guys subscribed to the other channels? Logical Movie Reviews with Mr. L. Boyd along with Mr. L. Boyd Music. Both are found in the description. Check it out.